It's time to go to sugar rehab, and I'm here to guide you through how you can wean off that addictive sugar and still not trigger the reward system in your brain that's going to make you crave more. All right, we know sugar's bad. We hear it time and time again. The FDA tells us that like 10% or less of our overall calories in a given day should come from sugar, but I think a lot of us know that it needs to be even less than that to truly be healthy. But in this video, I want to break down how sugar can literally be more addictive than some street drugs like cocaine and how it works in the reward center of your brain. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the different kinds of sugar, because when you look at a label, you may not recognize some of them. But generally speaking, you want to look at the ones that end in OSE. So I'm talking about lactose, I'm talking about maltose, I'm talking about dextrose, I'm talking about sucrose, I'm talking about glucose, I'm talking about high fructose corn syrup, I'm talking about most corn syrups in general. And honestly, there's many, many more. So just keep a keen eye out for all these little imposters that don't necessarily look like sugar on the label, but they are. All right, and what exactly is that sugar doing in our body that is making us addicted to it? All right, so we have this center in the brain that triggers the release of what's called dopamine. And that dopamine is your reward system. For example, if someone were to say something positive to you and it makes you feel good, it makes you crave that attention more, you're having a dopamine response. If you reach your hand out to touch a doorknob, that anticipation of what it's gonna feel like is dopamine. It's sort of that anticipation or that natural reward system for everything that we do. Well, sugar triggers that reward system like mad. Well, it doesn't just release dopamine within the body, it triggers what are called opioid receptors. And if you've ever heard of opiates before, like morphine or Oxycontin, anything like that, then you know how important that is when it comes to addiction. You see, the interesting thing is that sugar actually possesses the four main qualities that make up something that's addictive. We're talking about binging, withdrawal, cravings, and something that's called cross-sensitivity. What that cross-sensitivity is essentially something like a gateway drug. So I want you to think of this. You consume a drug. That drug causes you to crave other drugs, not just the same drug. That's cross-sensitivity. Okay, sugar does the same thing. It triggers cross-sensitivity, making you crave other things that are bad. Now, that's an indirect way of saying that you might consume sugar and then crave drugs, or you might take in some sugar and then crave some unhealthy fats. The thing is, you're going to start having cross-sensitivity to anything that triggers a dopamine response. Now, here's the interesting thing, and here's what prompted me to do this video in the first place. There was a study that literally found that sugar and sweet foods and sweet things in general were more powerful than cocaine. The study was done on rats, but it was still a very distinct study. They gave these rats two choices. They gave them a choice of something sweet, one of each sugar or artificial sweetener, or they had the opportunity to have intravenous cocaine, okay, something that is obviously very addictive. Here's what's alarming. 94% of the rats chose either the sugar water or the saccharin artificially sweetened water over the cocaine. That right then and there tells us that sugar and sweet things, not just sugar, but artificial sweeteners, can be more addictive than cocaine. So now the meat of this video, how do you wean yourself off? If artificial sweeteners are just as bad, that kind of throws out the window the whole idea of just switching over to sucralose or switching over to aspartame or something like that. Well, here's what I want to propose to you. Fructose responds a little bit different in the body. Okay, fructose doesn't trigger as much of an insulin spike. It doesn't trigger as much of that dopamine release. So if you can start subbing your sugar for a little bit more things like agave, dolcetти, things like that, you're off to the races. However, if you've seen my other videos, you don't want to be loading up on fructose because it's not too good for the waistline. So here's what I recommend. You take something like stevia that's still a natural sweetener but has a high sweetness, and it still would trigger that same dopamine response, but you cut the amount of sweetener that you would use in half. Okay, so you cut down the stevia in half, and then you use the other half agave or the other half dolcetti. And then you slowly migrate yourself off the sweeteners altogether until you're maybe just using a drop or maybe a half a packet of stevia. Then you find doing that after just a couple of weeks, your sleep pattern is going to start to regulate. And once your sleep pattern starts to regulate, your neurotransmitters and your hormones start to level off, and you actually won't be craving the sugar in the first place. So there you have it, the simple way that you're going to combine fructose and a natural sweetener like stevia or truvia to really get the most out of coming off of the sugar addiction and kicking the habit that might not be helping your waistline all too much. As always, keep it locked in here on these videos and make sure you hit the comment button below and let us know exactly what you want to see in the future, what videos are going to be helpful for you. I'll see you in the next video.